Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 15th, 2025 edition of Travis Told You. I am your host, Travis Snell, and I'm here. It is Monday. Hope everyone had a good weekend. I'm a little tired, long weekend. We went to weddings, lots of traveling, and tons of fun at the wedding. Some funny stories that I'll tell in the next originals, but yeah, and then one of the babies is sick, so, they having a tough time sleeping, so I don't have the maybe chutzpah as usual, but I am here, keeping it going on the new, I don't know, I guess it's weekly. What do you call it? 2 times a week, I guess. Weekly just sounds nice. I used to be able to say bi-weekly or monthly, but I can't. So just 2 times a week for Travis Told You. We'll go back. All the episodes are there. This week, what else do we got going on? We got the Alien Earth penultimate episode. We got Gen V starting. We got Peacemaker. Yeah, I don't know. I want to see. I probably will get around to seeing it at some point. As you guys know, I talked about a couple weeks ago, my 2 most anticipated movies. One from like the quality-wise, one battle after another, and just the pure favorite as far as the trailers, the concept, Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. I want to see that. My plan was to try and see that on the Thursday or Friday for the Monday next week, Travis Told You. But I don't think it's going to happen. We'll see what happens. But it's, of course, at a theater that's like farther, and it's just a pain. So I can get there, I just don't know. It's one of those times like I want to get there in general, but we got After 9 that's coming back this Friday. Check out, which I'm happy because we haven't done like a proper After 9 in a while. So I think we're gonna talk about like maybe our favorite and most disappointing movies this summer, just what everyone's been going on, because it's been like the trivia or different stuff. We had a couple movie nights, so I'll be excited to get back to that. But then I got 2 things of wrestling, of course, All Out and WrestlePalooza on Saturday. So check out Sunday. The Gimmick will be back. I think right now we're looking at 11 a.m. PST, so look out for that. That's a big show. We're trying to do the Tron Retro, so we got lots going on right now. Look at my schedule. I literally don't see a day, at least. If it would have been the Thursday or Friday and I could see it later, that'd be fine, but I hate when I get that notification. That's the theater it's at. So we'll see. But yeah, next couple weeks, busy weeks. As I talked about, Gen V is starting this week. So check it out, because we are going to, I think we're going to review at least episodes 1. Like, we're reviewing the batch that's 1 to 3. And then probably episode 4. And then we're going to see how they do, because we talked about this before that. We love, the boys. We like doing those Gen V reviews. I end up liking that show a lot more as it went along. But as we've said before, we just got so much stuff up until about, I really think it's Extra Life, but even past that, right? Because Extra Life we will be doing a little bit later this year on, I haven't started the official promotion or anything, but November 8th, we'll be doing that for Extra Life, our 24-hour stream. But then even then, it kind of quiet down, but not it's not until December, really. Like, even like there's Running Man, we got Knives Out 3's happening, we got a couple other things like we're filming, we got a concert we're going to, we got lots of stuff that we're going to be pre-recording, because a lot of people will be busy at the start of next year just with trips and personal stuff, so we're trying to pre-record everything, the draft. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen with just everything in general, but that's what's gonna happen. So let's see. Espa says, I hadn't seen any trailers for the Big Bold Journey till recently, and honestly didn't look very interesting. Maybe the trailer was just lame. Wow, where's the ban button? See, yeah, I guess that's all like different strokes for different folks, right? Because I see that and I love that idea, because I think I've talked about this before. I love the concept, and some of that probably bugged me a lot when I was younger, but I think everybody's dealt with the what if, and I think, who knows, I suppose, maybe when you get older, but just when there's so much stuff that happens in life, luckily I felt when I was younger, there's a lot of what ifs that you're like, oh man, you like stress over. Now as you go along, you're okay, not that everything happened for a reason, but it all kind of works out. But I think that idea of, I don't think it's a what if that they can change things, but the fact you go back and just see different perspectives, or just even over time memory changes. I like, obviously, Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie, so I'm in there. Visually, there looks to be some good stuff. So, and I think for me, I love movies about time. Life of Chuck, I guess. No, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Love movies like About Time, not movies about time. I guess that's why I like the Nolan movies, but movies that just make you feel good. Life of Chuck happened earlier this year. Everything Everywhere All at Once, So I love dark and depressing horror stuff, but when those are done well, that's like a subgenre I really like. So do I think it's going to do well? Probably not. Let's see. It was the trailer that really it was more the trailer really to me. The narration music felt very generic, 2010 movie. I wonder which one you saw, S Bubs, because I haven't seen the second trailer. I've seen the first trailer, which I really like. I like there's that Gracie Abrams song, and it has like it's like an epic version. So yeah, either way, I want to see it in theaters and support because I don't think it's gonna do the greatest. We'll talk about box office this weekend. Had a big box office for an unpredicted movie up until like a couple days before, and tracking blew through the roof. But yeah, so we'll see. Either way, I'm going to see that at some point. If I don't see it like within the realm of that week, I'll talk about when I do my year end list. But I will be seeing it, and I want to see it in theater. I just worry that if it doesn't do well, and there's lots of stuff coming October, November, it's going to get bumped. So hate that when it's like a theater more out of the way. But we'll see. Luckily, I know one battle after another is at the theater that's close to me, but same thing because it's a busy like couple weeks now. I have to see it. I think the Thursday, because I think it's the Thursday when it's next week, right? And Peacemaker, that's episode 6, and we've heard those rumblings of episode like the last 3 are really good or really surprising. So I could skip Peacemaker and do that, but I want to see that episode. But then it's like 2:40, and like seeing that movie like 10 p.m. Like I don't know. It's gonna be tough. That one I will see because that one's a bit easier for the weekend wise. But then I got Ellie's birthday. It's been a busy time. Like summer was busy, but it's very busy fall. But yeah, check out all the stuff we got going on. Head over down below for the Patreon if you want to send in any questions. Like as Bubs is in the chat there, you can join patrons and you guys get the access there. And if not, send in a super chat just because it is an hour show. Grip and rip it. Today we're talking about some Batman 2 details with Sofia Falcone and some other details, like just little stuff, some speculation that's been going on, right? The box office breakdown. Paramount trying to buy Warner Brothers. I'll probably tie that into the Batman stuff because we talked about that a little last week, and then funny, like the next day that kind of came back up then because I think it might have been Aaron in the chat. Somebody asked me about Batman Part 3, and I was like, well, there's a big reason why I don't know anything that's going to happen because we don't know anything that's going to happen, right? And then if we have time, the movie news I want to get to last week with Conjuring and Jurassic World and whatnot. But yeah, hope everyone's doing well. Let's talk about this. There's no like quote to bring up. Like I guess there was a quote. Matt Reeves obviously was at the Emmys last night. I didn't watch the Emmys, but I was not surprised by the studio. I think it set the record for most Emmys won by a new series. Wasn't surprised at all. I said to Emily like, after the second or third episode. I've said it before where the quality was there, and I just think the genre was there. And I think because it's very inside baseball Hollywood, I think a lot of people watch that and feel relatable as far as like there's stuff that we're outside the industry and we watch, we go, oh, I understand that reference. The people inside, there's probably references or there's probably situations that happen identical and they've just changed the people's names. And there you go, right? And then The Pit, I picked that, and yeah, good for that. I'm gonna watch The Pit before January, but obviously Penguin was there, and funny enough, I always forget her name. What the hell is her? I know it's Sophia Falcone's a character's name, but it's like Kristen Milani, or where is it here? I'll try to find it. My God, of course, Penguin Emmys. But funny enough, so they confirm, yeah. That's funny. That's the first one. Oh, because I searched Penguin Emmys. You can tell it's a fucking Monday. Kristen Milotti, I think that's how you say it. Either way, she won an Emmy for Penguin, which was funny because on the red carpet, Matt Reeves was asked about, Penguin and all this stuff. We'll talk about the other things he said, but asked about Sophia Falcone specifically and said, oh, unfortunately, she's not in it. And he said something like, he said that, oh, when we are, which is kind of funny because like Penguin's was written and been out for a while, and he's like, oh well, we're in the middle of deep in the writing of the Batman 2 and we're already past by the time that character was introduced and couldn't add her in, right? I feel like the script's been going on for so long. Yes, I suppose that's the point I said. Writing the script for 4 years and can't fit her in. Absolutely. Right now, I don't think he's like completely lying to us, right? I think like he probably has an idea, and it's this thing of that certain character with what they've gone through and how they relate or could relate to Batman wouldn't work here, so let's not force feed it in, right? So I do get that, but the idea that you couldn't fit her in at all, my hope is that even it would be like a cameo if you go to Arkham, something like that. I think the other thing to me is that, yes, it's been 84 years. That's what was a funny thing. Like, I think he should have just said, like, hey, we have a specific story with specific characters, and that character didn't quite fit in, but I hope in the future. Because the good thing is, the way he talked about it, it's not like when there's the Feige Sony stuff or the Feige, like, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. When they would talk about in the past, you could get the sense of they really don't want to use them. Where Reeves, like, oh, yeah, you never know in the future. Like, he still sounded excited about that character. So to me, it wasn't like that character blew up and, it wasn't part of me. Like, to me, it sounds like Reeves worked with, I can't remember her last name, but Lauren, she was like the showrunner and head writer on that show, right? They worked together probably for the setup and probably like, here's the through line to the series. And he agreed, hey, that works with my Penguin, probably some beats. And then when all that all works. And to me, that strikes me as like he's really happy about it because it worked out well, probably likes the show, got all this acclaim. So it's like, why would you be mad about that, right? Which some people do. Some people don't want, if it is this weird thing, it's like, oh, well, people like the thing that is in my world, but something more. Because I've heard people say, oh, I like Penguin more than Batman, right? Which, I guess I can kind of understand. But I'm just saying the reception is, you can tell sometimes when people, there's some kind of, professional jealousy there or annoyance where this doesn't really sound like that, right? So, to me, I think it does make sense for what we've been hearing. Arn says, I've always thought that Sophia receiving a letter from Selena was more of a closure than a setup. I don't think Reeves wants to do what Marvel didn't directly connect to TV show and movies. That's a good point if it's a closure. So I think the tough thing is, though, like I think you could be right, but I think in the world where he's doing, he did a TV show and they're doing part 2 and he said he wants to do other TV shows, right? He even talked about that again yesterday. I think you kind of put out the idea that that could happen, right? So I didn't take it necessarily as a closure because I feel like the closure would have been that note and maybe something definitive of don't want anything to do with you, this or that. Like, I don't know. Because I guess you could make the case she's not alone. For me, then the closure, and I know it probably is not cheap, but like the closure would have been Selena actually visiting Sophia and them meeting and like, hey, I know you're alone here, but like you always got me, and that's the closure, right? You could argue they do more, but I think the note does feel more set up than closure, but obviously that's your perspective. I think for me, the line that they're trying to get to, because I think it's, I guess it's not odd, right? Like, let's say, we'll talk about that in a second, but let's say the Batman Part 3 happens, right? It's not that it's odd, but the way that movie ended, I really felt like Selena was going to be a character in all 3 parts. But obviously, a couple weeks ago, when she was doing press, I should say Zoe Kravitz, because, multiple she's. Zoe Kravitz was doing press for Caught Stealing. Supposedly, the word was that press said, hey, don't ask about Batman 2. She doesn't know anything about it because she's not in it. Obviously, could just be a flank and a lie, and they just say, hey, I don't want to talk about that. Let's just tell them this. Or it could be true, right? And to me, that's another sign of, okay, it just feels like smoke and fire, right? If we hear that and now Sophia is saying she's not, like, that Sophia's not in there. If Sophia was in there, then I think clearly that there would have been some Selena stuff, right? I still think the line they're trying to get to is, okay, feels odd to me that Selena's on all 3, but if you to say, and I've said this before, so sorry if people have heard this, but if you go, Selena's in The Batman, and then she's in the Catwoman, Selena Kyle, whatever you call the HBO show, and then part 3, that would make sense. Because with that, you literally, the same way with the Penguin ending where he has the purple suit and looking like the comic book version, you could do the same thing where you go from that biker leather Catwoman outfit to like the Catwoman outfit she'll wear, right? To more of the thieving, more of the reputation, all the stuff, more of the backstory, everything, right? And they have, like, that's where it's like Penguin, they keep, like, it's funny where they keep, I don't know. With the Penguin season 2, it feels like there's like multiple holdups where they all want, not all, I'll say the brass probably wants it. I think it did well. Obviously, Emmy wise, it did well. Ratings wise, like, and the Emmys too, like, superhero stuff doesn't get that much recognition, right? So the fact got like 9 Emmys and all this stuff, or I think it was maybe 9 Emmy wins because of all the special stuff and all these nominations. That's huge. HBO wants more of that, I imagine, right? And it already has a built-in audience. It just, like, even today, God, who was it? I don't know what they are. I don't even know what they are. They have some title at HBO. I don't want to derail the show here. And talking about like, oh, they're kicking around ideas. We don't know yet, but they're working on something, right? And even Reeves said that yesterday, like, oh, well, we don't know for sure, but it's something we've discussed and have ideas about. That's where I feel like Catwoman is a better conclusion because it can act as a semi-season 2. Because I think Colin Farrell, like, most of them has said like, hey, it sounds like every time they ask him, he does end in like one and done. Like he makes it sound better, but he does always resort to, well, if there is a story, that's great, but I don't want to ruin anything. And he's also spoke multiple times of, even the makeup. Like with the Batman, it's different. Few days of shooting. With the show, that's a lot more, right? And he's in that makeup all the time. To me, it just always feels like, unless it is something great, or he's just like, um, God, what is it called? God, negotiating in the public, right? That could be it. Maybe he's all down for season 2. He can give a shit about the quality, but he maybe wants a pay raise for doing all that makeup, right? That could be it too. So that's where I think it's this weird push to pull where I feel like every time we hear someone say, that's going to happen, and then we hear someone's not going to happen, or whether it's called, and even the show was in the mini series, right? It wasn't in the continue series, so who knows? I think that's why Catwoman would work, because you could get Colin in there for an episode or two. You got Sophia in there. You have Catwoman, who was alluded to. You could also bring back Mark Strong to play Carmine Falcone to give more flashbacks, right? You could literally do the flashback of that scene where, the night where Selina's mother gets killed, right? Like, there's tons of stuff you can do. So it's kind of adjacent. But then at the same time, it's tough because obviously there's the elephant in the room with the James Gunn stuff, right? And I guess I'll bring this all in. I'll put into one story, right? So with this, it did not surprise me that she was not going to be in this movie. Like people brought up, she's more of a TV show character. I don't think Matt Reeves is opposed to using her in the future if it works out. I think he does just have a specific story that he doesn't want to change. And I do think he was refining a lot of that. Obviously, there's rumors about there's other personal reasons why the script didn't get finished and there were some delays and everything, right? So I think it's a combination of many things. So put that out of it. WB right now is apparently going to be bid on by Paramount, which obviously a lot of things could happen because that's going to take time. I think technically they can't put in the offer till next year. That could also give other companies opportunities because I think, was it someone in the chat let me know when Disney bought Fox, someone else was trying to get them, right? I think it was Universal, maybe, but there was something where Disney put in a bid, someone else bid, and they had to put their bid up, right? So just because we heard this news last week doesn't mean squaw. And it also has to be approved. Not going to talk politics. The person that is the head of Paramount right now, good friends with a lot of people that would get that approved. It's going to get approved. We've had so many 10, 15 years ago, I'll say even 20, of all these big corporations can't buy all this stuff because it becomes a monopoly. That's already happening, right? The fact that if this happens, we'll have 4 major, not counting the streamers, not counting the, those, because not all of them do theatrical stuff. We'd have Paramount, Sony, Disney, and I feel like I'm missing one, and Universal. So yeah, Sony, Disney, Paramount, Universal, 4. Only 4 major studios. That sucks, man. That really sucks. Obviously, that's why I always try to see the A24s and the Neons, because we do need to have these other companies grow and get bigger so that we can have some good middle tier stuff. And hopefully that they don't just fucking get bought out by the big companies as well, because that could happen, right? So Aaron, thank you. Universal, Comcast. Yeah, so they up the bid, right? So that could happen. This is still ways off. But that's why, Aaron, because I referred to you earlier, when you and other people talk about the Batman 3, everything, once this happens, let's just say it happens, right? Paramount gets them. Everything is gone to the wind. We have no idea. This guy can sit down, meet with James Gunn, whatever. I'll just say the guy in his team meet with James Gunn, and they just go, I actually don't like the idea he's going. I think he's an asshole. And I don't think James is an asshole, but you know what I mean? Like, studio heads and people like that, and just rich people in general can, I'm not going to say be weird, but just be bullheaded, because obviously you talk about this guy Ellison. I think he's either next to Musk or he's just past Musk as the most richest person in the world, right? Owns Paramount. If James Gunn or Matt Reeves pitches him something and he doesn't really want to do it, he can just say, well, look at my tracker. And I don't know anything about this guy, right? But if you were to talk to, I know more about Musk. Musk inherited a lot of that money. He's not going to just go, oh, well, that all that money, none of these ideas of mine were good. So what, I think most people hold themselves to a high degree and think, well, what I think is best, right? So I said this example before last week, where what if, because Zazoff has said this, what if the Paramount person does feel, hey, I actually don't want 2 Batman. You film Batman Part 2. I do think, as Teo asked me this, I think Batman Part 2 is safe. It's going to film before this goes out. I don't think it would be like a Batgirl situation, because that has money track record to back it up. That movie made $770 million, whatever. That'd be odd to throw that away. Where Batgirl was in this weird thing of, it was in the caught between 2 universes. It was a new director, new actress, new IP in a sense, right? Like Batgirl's been in movies, but not a movie. I wish that still happened. I still don't think it would have mattered if, hey, put on HBO Max, make some, like, get something back. And I guess they felt that the write-off was worth it, right? But to me, it's like, for the sake of the artist, put that out there and deal with the universe stuff later, right? But I digress. So we really don't know. And it's the same thing with Reeves. I think he's walking on a tightrope because he talks about all these things he wants to do. Like, people ask him, like, oh, there's other characters we want to explore. But he's smart where he goes, well, right now, though, our focus is on the Batman Part 2, and then we'll figure that out after, right? I I'm in the sense where we are with DCU, I'll just say DC, right? Where we are in general, I've said before, I love the idea that Gunn says, let's do Elseworlds and the mainline stuff. It does feel like he inherited a bit because the Batman wasn't his idea, but if he's down to say, okay, sure, just do that and we'll do our own thing. I am, like I've said before, I'm against if that changes because of Gunn. If he puts the guy Bosch on it, like, to me, that's kind of him feeding us a bill of goods, right? Just to win some favor. I've said before, if he finishes that, if he lets Reeves finishes the trilogy and the DCU's popping off, Gunn will always have my support. Not going to blindly just review everything positively, but I'll say that guy said this was going to happen, even though, sure, he said some stuff that might be a little stretching the truth, but this is a big one, right? Probably for myself and other people that like Reeves stuff. And, for, myself, I didn't love Creature Commandos. I didn't love Peacemaker. So, or no, like Peacemaker. Well, actually, I don't love Peacemaker either. I wasn't on that last review. That last review could have been, or that last episode could have been an email. We've had 4 episodes and 2 of them have, I won't say been filler, but near filler. I think last week was filler. It's literally what you could do in a scene. They stretch it to an entire episode, right? So far, that there's nothing I would fail of Guns, but right now I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for what's next. I will lie, I guess I feel that about Supergirl, but that's more because the Millie Alcott casting, not so much like the Vision, right? But that's where, if you give people the option like myself, I'm less harsh on the DCU because, like, well, you're giving me the Batman, the type that I like, right? So for me, I do say that let them finish it. On the other side, though, with the TV shows, I think that's trickier. I think that's harder. And I would understand if Gunn said, like, hey, like, I don't want you to do like a Catwoman show or this type of show because these are villains I do want to use in that. And it's like, I'm already worried about Batman being saturated enough. I don't know if I want to be like, now there's 2 Catwoman, there's 2 Banes, there's 2 Mr. Freezes, Again, they could talk about, I still think there's a world where you could say, hey, what are you going to use? And I'm going to use something else. If they do Brave and the Bold, I don't know all the villains they would use, but based on some that run, some for like, if they wanted to go the route of how Damien was introduced, Talia, which I don't think James Gunn or Matt Reeves is using. So you got Talia and Ra's al Ghul right there. And then on the first little bit of that run, Man-Bat and some things about Man-Bat were used. I don't want to spoil in case they do in the film. That's 2 things. I don't think Man-Bat is popping up in the Batman Part 2, right? So that's where I think, to me, that is very easy. If you could sit down and say, hey, yeah, sure, go make a Catwoman show, because we're not going to introduce Catwoman for a while. But I think it's that thing when we heard the scuttlebutt of Clayface maybe in the Reeves script, and then they wanted to make a movie, and then it was set in the Reeves universe, and then it wasn't. That's where I think it starts to get tough. But I guess also for me, it's just tough because, like, Batman has so many rogues and characters. It's like, you can't, like, you have to use this for either one, for Gunn or Reeve, right? To be like, like, any of you being like, you have to do that. But luckily, I'm hoping that they got a good relationship. They can talk that stuff out, right? But to me, the shows are a bit more like, okay, we're starting this universe. You don't want to be a part of that. We respect that. We're going to give you the movies, but the shows, that might be pushing a little. Because the HBO slots or HBO Max, if DC is only getting a few of them, I feel like Gunn's going to be like, I want that for my stuff, which I kind of agree, right? Because it's a whole connected universe. As much as I love Penguin, right? I would love the be Catwoman show. I think that'd be phenomenal. I think that's uber potential, especially with Zoe Kravitz, especially with the world they set up. But if you got to be picky and choosy, I'm still going to pick the trilogy, right? So it's very tough where they are with all this, and I think they're all. It's much like when Superman came out. There was a bunch of rumors or stuff being announced, right? And to me, that was because maybe they said you got to hit the certain amount and then go. And we heard rumors of a Jimmy Olsen show, and then even started to talk about the Superman 2. We got Man of Tomorrow. Like, it felt like that was for them a hit, and now we can move forward. I think, and much to Aaron's point here, which I'm going to bring up, I think everything's just kind of in. I think it was already in like limbo. I think even more so now if WB gets bought, because we have no idea. What if this guy just wants to start over completely? Like, this is the thing where we live in a world where in phase 2 Marvel, when they were fucking rocking and rolling, Foggy wanted to make a Captain Marvel movie and a Black Panther movie. I can't remember where it was, but he was supposed to be introduced earlier in the MCU. And Ike Perlmutter, who was under Bob Iger, put the kibosh on that, because I think he tried to say it in a less racist, sexist way, but he pretty much just implied, like, the alleged rumor was that, like, women and people of color don't sell toys, right? And that's why we don't want to make those movies. And it's like, oh my, especially like thinking about what Black Panther would become. It's like, man, what it take? But there's so many people like that in studio heads, right? In creatives. And so the same thing is like both Matt Reeves and James Gunn could sit down with this guy or this team and be like, you know what? We don't actually want to do any of this. We don't like this universe. What if they're like me? We're like, I don't like the DCU. We can start over. I wouldn't do that if you were presenting DCU. I'm like, this is a great start. Lots of people love it. Keep going forward. See what happens, right? Same with the Batman. But we really don't know. So that's where we have to see how the Superman sequel does. Got to see if it builds or drops, because what if it drops? There's a case of, this is a very little degree, right? But look at Megan and Megan 2. Everyone has these different theories of why, because it wasn't horror, because the release date. Mine is more of, I didn't really enjoy Megan 1, so I wasn't going to go back to the theaters to see Megan 2, no matter what they changed about, right? And I end up liking Megan 2 more than Megan 1. But you only got one chance. So what if, like, because I talked to, like, Emily when we watched it, she did not enjoy Superman. There's somebody else I talked to recently that did not enjoy Superman. And that's where it's just like, and I've talked to other people that loved Superman or thought it was just okay, kind of like myself. That's the thing where, what if Superman, comes out, Superman 2, which Mike also says another good point too, and I'll bring it up right now. And Aaron, I'll get your point there in a second. If the deal goes down before Supergirl, that put more pressure on that movie to doing well at the box office, even more than Superman. I agree. And what happens if we get to a situation where Supergirl comes out and underperforms? And that's the thing of, is it the character? Is it the actress? Is it the quality of the movie? Is it this universe? Because like I said, what if people saw Superman and sure it did, like, it's still going to be maybe top 10 in the year. Like, I think it did. To me, I would classify as good, which is good nowadays because anything could bomb, right? So the fact of, like, if, let's say, Superman of Tomorrow comes out, and then it's not a Superman sequel, which that's why I think they'll retitle it. What if it underperforms or does lesser than? And then the Batman blows up, like Aaron says right here. If Batman Part 2 makes $1 billion, I wonder how Paramount will handle Batman. Would they be okay with 2 Batman at the same time, right? And what if they did that? What if that happens and they go to Gunn and they say, Gunn and Reeves, I sit them down and say, hey, we don't want 2 Batman. Figure this out. And Reeves says, well, I said I want to be exclusive. They let me exclusive. And, and James makes his pitch. And they look at the box office of Superman and Batman and they go, well, you know what, Gunn? You can't use Batman for now. You have to use other. I'm not saying they would do this, but I'm saying any scenario, right? They say, we're going to let Reeves do his stuff. We're going to let him do shows. We're going to do whatever. And, Brave and Bold, that can be delayed. We don't even want you to put him in the Justice League. We want nothing until Reeves is done. And what happens if it's the same thing as last time where Reeves, I don't think would, but let's say it takes 5 years. So we get this in 2027, fingers crossed, hopefully, right? And then let's say we don't get Batman Part 3 till 2032. That means Gunn is sitting there and he can't use Batman for another 5 years at all? At anything, right? Again, I don't think these would happen, but you never know what someone might think, who they might be talking to, friendships, non-friendships, like rivalries. You don't know, right? And say vice versa. I've said this before, like, I hope it being gone for so many years, the Batman 2 will do better or the same as Batman 1. But what if people moved on? What if people I don't need, right, they're doing another one. There's a moment where you can miss the window of hype, or sometimes the window of hype dies down and you bring it back because it's been gone so long. And you never know. With each project, I feel like it's different. We'll have to read the room, right? The same way as for No Way Home, people fucking loved seeing, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back and they didn't even know. Michael Keaton, people didn't really care, unfortunately, right? I'd say to a mass degree, right? And there's a lot of other stuff that went with the Flash, but still didn't matter, right? And then Hugh Jackman, that happened. So I really don't know. I think that's where it's going to be interesting. Everything, Supergirl box office, Superman box office, Batman, what happens with Paramount, that'll be the thing too. When Paramount gets bought, they'll do interviews and we're gonna find out what happens, right? They'll say a few things and we really don't know. And that's why for me, I'm going to enjoy getting the Batman Part 2 because I can't be guaranteed that 3 is happening. If you were to ask me, I'd say, especially now the buyout, I don't think so. I really, and again, I don't know with even, I think at least depends what Paramount decides is a success. I think at least with the way the DCU is going right now, they would look at it and be like, let's keep that. But what if what if Green Lantern comes out, bad reviews, Clayface comes out, bombs, Supergirl comes out, bombs, And again, Reeves' stuff is popping off, and they might go, you know what, we don't need to do this other DC stuff right now, or we don't want connected stuff. Let's get auteurs, let them do what they want to do, and bring that back. Because that could be the case, right? They could see Matt Reeves, who I would consider an auteur, and say, you know what, that's working more than this other stuff, the universes, the connections, the TV shows, the animation. Let's just make a, let's just make a Wonder Woman movie, but we're going to give it to Emerald Fennel. And I wouldn't even want that. Actually, I would, just to see the internet and see what happened, because I wouldn't care. It's like, we got a great Wonder Woman movie. But that's what I mean. Like, what if they're like, let's give it to somebody that's going to make something pop, right? So we have no idea, because we can't. When money is involved, you don't know people's negotiations. We talk about this with wrestling all the time, right? When people become free agents, you don't know. With WWE, that's like this big dream company, and so many people grew up with like, my dream is to work there. No matter what I get paid, I want to work there. Where some people are money driven of, pay me whatever you want, as long as you're top like biller, I'm gonna go with you. Some people are about the match quality. Like, oh, I can only wrestle for this promotion because I can go for 40 minutes instead of 5 minutes on TV. I'm going there. So with people that are, someone that's a multi-billionaire and he's the head of a corporation, and I don't know much about him, and even then, like, I'm not a billionaire, I'm not that, so it's like, I don't know what runs through their mind, what they consider to be the right or wrong moves, right? So I don't know, and none of you know either. All of us are predicting the same way. When people talk about Gunn and Reeves and past and that never happening, all it takes is one day for them to change their minds. Yeah, we all sat down together, and this is the best course option. And you go, oh, well, James, you said that about Brave the Bold. Like, oh, well, that's when he literally could say, well, at that point, Reeves, he could literally say, the best quote about that would be, Matt Reeves making a Batman movie in the DCU was the best option. But he said that was not what he wanted to do right now, so I had to find the second best option. Now that the best option's back on the table, I'm going with that, because guess what? Whoever this mysterious scriptwriter is, they're still fucking getting paid, even though I think it could be Gunn. They're still getting paid. So if he went and hired somebody, if he went to go hire, I don't know, Aaron Sorkin, I'm making Brave and the Bold, please write me a script. Even if that movie never gets made, he gets paid. Marlon Wayans has said he, at times, like, I think it was at least a couple of years ago, still gets checks from Warner Brothers because of Batman Returns. You know why? Because whoever is agent was, team was, he made a deal, he got cast as Robin, and before they started film, they changed the script and they cut him. But he was cast to be Robin, and he still, look it up, he gets paychecks for a movie he was not even in. I'm sure they're not like huge, but he's still getting paid somewhat, right? So that's why with anyone that talks in definitive, it's like, that's not happening. Even with Gunn saying stuff, it's like, whether he's stretching the truth, whether he's changed his mind, or whether he outright lies, you can't take anything to it. And that goes to everybody, right? I would have to know the man. I will never believe Kevin Feige when he says, we are definitely going to pivot before we're going to pivot from Kang before everything happened. Yeah. All right. I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were, because then I've said before, when we did that cast, if you were, then that shows you guys are creatively compromised, because that's something you would have done in the past, right? So we just have to take the news as it goes, and when things are filming, great, we see it there. Let's see here if there's any more details I didn't hit on. I got a whole thread here. A couple quotes, yeah, because this was the quote about the universe. He just said, the priority at the moment has been getting the Batman to them prep. There were certain characters and certain things I wanted to do, so I'm hoping now that's in, those conversations will begin again in earnest. We'd love to do more things, but they'd have to be the things that fit within whatever. Obviously, I'm not in control of all the business plans of DC, but I have things I would love to do. So that was his quote on that. And then what was his quote on the direction here, which we were talking about a lot in the Discord today. Join the Discord, even though we've had a couple bots join recently. I don't know what happened. Let me back out here, but okay, so I wish I had the full quote here. Things that this film does for his character, Batman and Bruce, I think have never been done before in this way, which was, again, Maddie, and it was some Mike, you were talking about it. It is interesting, and that's what you do got to do with a Batman film nowadays, right? Is do something different, especially if there's going to be another Batman movie. What does that mean? That could fit in a whole bunch of stuff, right? This movie could be set in Arkham Asylum, and that's never been done before, right? I've said before, I do believe, because there's been multiple rumors throughout the years, recently just happened again in August with the Robin stuff, right? I do think he could be referring to that, because what they did with Chris O'Donnell in Forever and Batman and Robin was like, that is a 5% degree of what the actual Dick Grayson and Batman relationship is like, right? So to get really nitty gritty of being a father figure or adopting someone else that is torn and broken, I know everyone's casting the adolescence kid, which, yeah, sure, would be great. But I think that is actually a very good possibility. I agree with Mike as well, because the other rumors we refer to Hush, as far as whether him being framed or being on the run or something to do with the business, that could be the aspect, because if Hush is the villain, if people don't know, many times he assumes the identity of Bruce Wayne. He literally has tech to make himself look exactly identical to Bruce Wayne, which would be fun, because for Thomas Elliott, you could get like a super no name, just great actor, and then if lots of the time their face is Pattinson, you can just make Pattinson play that role, and that's great. Like, I'd be completely down if Pattinson's playing like the evil. You know, like this, we got the Mickey 17, so maybe you want to avoid that, but we know he could do it, right? So I think you got that. I know some people joking about with the whole Superman aspect. I don't think it's that, but I do think it's the Robin thing, and I think it is just. I agree with people like Wayne Enterprises. The business aspect could have a lot to do with that, but I think the best two options. I would love it if it was the same, but the best two options are him being framed, and I guess it's in conjunction, or I'd say in adjacent to that. It's similar, but not the exact. Where I don't think we've really had, and I talked about this with the Batman because I thought it was going to go this way, and maybe it was setting up for that. We've never had a film that's really fucked with and messed with the identity of Bruce Wayne. So you track them all, right? Joker doesn't know, like, let's go from Burns to now. Joker doesn't know Batman's, Bruce Wayne, great. Penguin and Catwoman find out at the end of that movie, Max Schreck find out at the end of that movie, great. And Catwoman, it does have a little bit to do with it, but they are still separate. Catwoman, Batman, Selina, Bruce, up until the end, right? Batman Forever, Riddler does find out Bruce Wayne's identity, and that helps to, okay, the third act, they crash the mansion, kidnap Robin and Nicole Kidman, great. But again, that just sets up the third act battle, where to jump all the way to the other one, Dark Knight Rises, that sets up the first act of, okay, they find out Wayne is Batman, but that just gets the Batmobiles. And then that's what I mean. It's used as a plot point. It's not used ever as the plot of a character. And I thought that was going to happen with the Batman. I thought the Riddler was going to know that Batman was Bruce Wayne, and that the whole time that would be a big tussle. That'd be an issue for Batman, because how do you take on that? Someone that could, frame you, do all this stuff, could reveal their identity if you don't want to do X, Y, and Z. So I do think with the framing, the playing with his identity, that could be something that would work very well. But yeah, I trust Reeves. He said that, passing like the script and that was great. So like, I didn't really have any doubts there. I feel like if you like the first one, they're gonna be pretty into like maybe has some notes, but I kind of like a nothing burger quote, and this will be a nothing burger to them. It just says, hey, we're keeping the plot on the wraps. We'll have to see. We'll see when casting happens, because now first it was all they're shooting in the spring, and then it was March, and then it's April. Now it's like, well, it's end of April, beginning of May. Like, it always just feels like it moves around. I'll just be excited once those cameras roll. I do wonder, because we have October, November, if I still don't think we're actually hearing anything of casting till next year. But the only chance to me would be October, November. The scripts are going out now. Obviously, you'd start building sets. You'd do stuff. If people don't know, lots of times, especially in closer to Christmas, but lots of times to December, the town in Hollywood goes like very quiet. It's known as like that's the time that people are taking off. And then it's kind of like once New Year's happened, they go back to work. That's why I feel like getting the script, making deals. If we don't hear anything by November, I don't think you're going to hear anything in December. I don't, unless filming gets moved up, right? That's always a possibility. I think that you'll wait till next year, so there's contracts and negotiations. That's gonna be fun. It was super fun with the Batman. Even when we got it's because we got Paul Dano, there was Jonah Hill, and there was somebody else. Like, that'd be a fun thing. Maybe I'll do that another time to hit on some of these other stories and whatnot. I don't know. I'll go. Because you know what? If we have to pump those stories, we will. Because you never know on the Wednesday if we have any news. Let's see. Batman casting rumors. Let's see if I can just quickly pull up some from the past. Yeah, problem is I'd have to look at that another day. Oh my God, some people. Some people they're making their DC one cast list, and the first thing I see for comic book resources is Sam Witwer. It's like, wow, that's crazy. Even then, this is weird. Johansen was one of the several backup choices for Matt Reeves. That's crazy. So yeah, maybe I'll have to maybe I'll have to just save it, and I'll have to wait for like a evergreen, like a December when it's quiet. Maybe we'll do like a favorite rumors or whatnot. I'll put in the Discord Patreon of people just send me like ones that they thought would have been good or were interesting. But to that point, I remember when Jonah Hill was being rumored for Riddler, and I was like, and I get why he didn't do Penguin. The rumor was he didn't want Penguin because there was a bunch of other random people rumored for Penguin too. I can't remember. We talked about it all the time, but I love cast rumors. I know people lots of times people hate them. I know Chris and Brent were like that. A lot of the Marvel stuff or like Fantastic Four. Where it's like, oh, okay, I'm just over it already. For me, I like that because it's like fantasy sports injury draft news where it's like, oh, what's the case with this? Oh, who's in, who's out? Because to me, when we do trivia on the movies and we read who would have been in, it's fun discussing that. Where the ones I get bored on was when we had all the plot rumors of Spider-Man, where it's like, okay, we've talked about the fifth plot rumor now, so it's like, what's going on here? Because it's stuff like until that's actually announced, there's not much to dissect. Like you can dissect it, of course, but it's like, are you dissecting it for nothing? Where if there's an actor in talks for a role, you're dissecting it for a reason. What would be their take, right? So we will see. All right, we talked about Let me just pull up. Was there anything else I missed here? Let's see. They reason Pattinson believes better than the first one. Yeah, sure. Pattinson love the script. They've entered pre-production. Yeah, we know that. We'll show a side of Batman Bruce we've never seen before. A lot of personal reasons strikes. Yeah. Discussion about Penguin 2. Okay, yeah, no, I think we can move on once we finish this chat here. Aaron says, I think Batman doesn't consider Penguin a threat at all. He only went after him when he wanted to get Riddler. I think he'll be in the background again in part 3 where Batman ignores him, but I think Penguin will become a huge problem for Batman if they make a third one. Yeah, I could see that. Farrell said it's tough though because he is like the Penguin now, so I could actually see him having more power and Batman thinking he's a threat, but he just can't take him down yet. But I could see that if we can get to the third one, so I could see the trajectory. So let's see the box office. Pull it up. So I've said before, I am no like anime connoisseur. I grew up not really liking the style of animation. Liked it a bit more as I've grown up. But yeah, let's do a little rundown here. So here's the top 10 of the box office this past weekend. So Demon Slayer, Infinity Castle. I'm not going to try to read the Japanese stuff. 70 million. This thing right now is projected to possibly get past 500 million. It could beat every Marvel movie of the year. That's what's crazy. That's where it's like, just I guess to stop here. That shows so much stuff. Again, the box office, I try my best, but it is unpredictable as ever. A few years ago, this would never happen. This shows also people, which funny, distributor Sony Pictures. So when everyone was shitting on them for K-pop, well, they got Demon Slayer that got them a lot of money, right? I think this also just shows that a changing of the time where there's tons of people like anime has always been big, like I won't say always, but been very big for a long time, right? But I feel like now it's a combination of you have people my age and a little older growing up that loved anime that will go out and watch it, and then I see people my age, not that I love anime, I'm not seeing Demon Slayer, and then people also have kids that they've either passed down or just bigger in the culture, right? Like this is a movie that would have not been projected to like open that high before, and it did. So good on it for that. That's very impressive. We'll see what the next couple of weeks are like, but those projections right now for the 500 opening, that's good. And hopefully the boys don't listen to Travis Told You, because I'm definitely going to start looking for the draft next year, the movie draft. I'm definitely going to start looking into some of these, because like Nisa 2 and this, if I would have had them, I could have made some good money. So that's one of my new strategies, but I'm sure if they hear this, they might steal it. So that's okay. Conjuring last rights, 26 million right now at total gross. I think this is just the domestic of 131, but I think it's already at 300 million worldwide. So that's doing great. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, 18 million. Long Walk, 11 million. Toy Story re-release, 3.5 million. Weapon still 2.7, even though it's on VOD. Hamilton, 2.2 million. Freakier Friday, 2.1. Again, that's doing really well. This one sucks, but I was in the same position. I just didn't have time. But Spinal Tap to the End Continues, 1.6 million. I don't get me wrong. When they announced that, I was very excited about that. And I didn't see it just because I'm busy and I only get to pick a certain movie, and I can't justify seeing that one right now if I ever get time. Like sometimes if something comes up or Emily's friends go in and they have their kids so they get together, sure. Like when I saw what was like the Together, when I saw that, I didn't have any plans to, but I had a free night. It's like I just want to chill, relax, go see a new movie, and that's what I did. But unfortunately, won't get a chance to. I'm excited to see it on VOD, but I do think when I saw it, I was very excited, but I thought the time had passed. since that. Okay, Mike, thanks for clarifying that, because he says crazy too, and you think the movie is just 3 episodes of the show stitched together. Now, this is what I'm going to ask you though, because this is what I was uncertain about, why it's like even bigger, right? Is it just that concept of 3 episodes put together, or is it already episodes that have gone out? Because it's like when they did the Paw Patrol movie, there was like the first one, it was, I don't know, 30 to 40 minutes of a new movie, but then after that was like a bunch of the show episodes put together, right? So it's like that. If it is episodes that have already aired, that's like uber impressive. That's very similar to the K-pop thing. Of this movie's already on Netflix and it's going out there, so we just don't know what people will pay for, right? Same thing. I wanted to go see Toy Story with my kids because they haven't seen the theaters. I still might try to. It depends how long it's in theaters for, but just busy. And Long Walk, that one's tough. I'm not sure. Let's see the Long Walk budget. Let's see what this thing's budget at. 20 million. Okay, so box office 11 million, 20 million. It'll definitely make its production budget back. Will be like a profitable thing. I don't know. That who knows? We don't know how much it will happen. So okay, so no, it's not already aired episodes. Preview of that. Everyone should go see Long Walks this April. So okay, back to Mike. I'll go back to you, April. So okay, that makes sense, because I thought if it was already aired episodes, that this show's fucking just like big time. Like you're like, that's very impressive. But okay, that's fair. It's a pre-upcoming season. Still, I get that people are excited, want to see it. Great business there, right? Everyone should go see The Long Walk. Yeah, same thing. I want to, but it'll be unfortunately a VOD for me. I just don't have time. There's so many movies coming up in September, October, and I've heard great things about it. I'm excited to see David Johnson's his performance. I've heard a lot of people say like the third act is just a little, I won't say brings down the movie, but definitely the weakest point, and maybe is a bit too long, probably because the movie's just walking. So that hasn't made me be like, oh, I have to see it. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I think here's the best way I can say it without being mean. I think they're very lucky, because who put this out here? Lionsgate. I think that movie at many other times could have been a streaming movie. I love that it is out in theaters. If I didn't have the two jobs, us starting filming again, and then the kids. Yeah, like I said, everyone knows me. When I had a few kids or before kids, I was seeing multiple movies a week, right? So I'm happy that I got a theatrical release. We do live in a world where that easily could have been put on streaming from a studio perspective, right? Say, put this there, and maybe you can make the case it could have done better, like a K-pop, where like it's just an easier click, right? Where to sell that, it's in a weird spot because it's a thriller, but it's not a horror movie, right? So we're getting that season where people, I think, want to see more like what Conjuring is. So it's not there, but then it doesn't have big enough stars where it justifies. Like, obviously, I'm not saying movie stars sell movies, but it does help a little bit more, obviously, where all these people are unknown. Even Mark Hamill, he's in a very different role, right? It's not like playing the Mark Hamill you know and love, and Mark Hamill's not like a draw either, right? So we'll see how it does, but yeah, I think probably like a little less than what they want. Like 11.5 is nothing too great. Let's see here. Okay, I think this box office. Yeah, we got about 12 more minutes here, so I will. What am I doing here? I've lost my notes. They're somewhere. There they are. So yeah, just some stuff we didn't get to. Speaking of The Conjuring last week, because that's what we do. We punt news if we don't get to it. We had known they were making a TV show supposedly, but when the movie had such a success, it was like, yeah, we're streamlining that. Like, that's happening right now. And then apparently they're making a prequel movie as well. I think that the tough thing with I think a show you could get them. I think for me, it's all what are people there for? Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think people are just going to see Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, right? I don't think it's just they put ass in seats. People gotta go and do this, right? But I think that they help, and I do wonder what the franchise is gonna do before a prequel movie. You kind of get with it, and plus you could kind of bring them back to like tell like, you remember when we first met, and then you get the younger actors, because if you hit with the prequel movie, then you kind of get a bunch of new life and you can keep going, right? The TV show I think is also a good concept. I think in the sense that, what are they doing? Are they like, you can't, I don't think for that recast and Lorraine Warren. So I think like what you need to do is just this, I imagine what it's going to be is that room that has all the stuff in there. Here's a story about that. It's like the mini series, right? Kind of the idea like American Horror Stories or a Black Mirror. There's that one Black Mirror episode with Letitia Wright where she went to this museum. I think it was, can't remember what the episode was called, but she sees all the stuff from the other episodes. That's to me what I envision with that show. Would it be a hit? I don't know. Clearly, people want to see the movie, so if they're paying to see the movie, they'll probably want to watch the show. Make sure you put it out in October, Halloween time, not like It Welcome to Derry, where the first episode's coming out October 26th. I get for the premiere trying to get that Halloween bump, but it's like have that all of October. That feels very odd to me, right? The movie, I don't know, but now I'm talking to myself. I was like, I don't know if I could see these not being a great idea, but that's one thing. If the prequel comes out and doesn't do the greatest, then we'll know, okay, people are attached to seeing these characters go through these journeys, but at the same time, usually they're pretty good at the budget, so I think they'll both be a success. And like I said, if they can get two actors that work and people like, and they like the movie enough, then you're kind of going for like another 4 to 3 movies, right? Like you're good to go there. So yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Scarlett Johansson supposedly is doing another Jurassic World movie. That was reported by Dan RPK last week, and not really surprising at all, right? Because the first, or I guess whatever, because it's Rebirth, right? I'll say the first one for her. That first one came out, made over 800. What did it finish at here? Because obviously it did not make the numbers of the other ones. I don't think it ever was going to. It made a little bit more than I thought it. Well, I don't know. Actually, no, I'll take that back. I thought, because my ranking for the summer was, I thought it was going to go Superman, Jurassic World, and then Fantastic Four. I thought this was kind of around what Jurassic World would do. I thought I was in like the 700 range. I just thought Superman was going to do a bit better than it did. But 862, very impressive when it's been a bit. You got a completely new cast, no returning characters, and the last few ones weren't the greatest, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like the audience cares about that. And like, I guess, sure, my excitement, I really have, like that's the thing, right? Especially nowadays, I try to be more picky and choosy. I said that with Jurassic World Rebirth, that I think I gave like a 6 out of 10. That I don't know, like it to me was technically better than the last two, but it's also just felt super safe. Or at least with Jurassic World, like Fallen Kingdom, really disliked that movie, but they're taking some swings, right? Some swings really don't work, in my opinion, but that's where it's like there's almost some more excitement as far as seeing a 3 to 4 out of 10 movie versus a 6. Most of a 6 is, I would say at best, it's a lot of great ideas just executed poorly, right? Where this was just rinse, repeat, hitting a lot of similar beats. There's a few new concepts, but nothing like, the D-Rex, nothing that was super exciting. Like, oh, I need to see more of these evolved, whatnot, right? So, but as a studio, why wouldn't you, right? It's still a franchise. And this is to me like Transformers, where people wondered if this would be the age of extinction, and it wasn't, which funny enough, all the dinosaurs and, with the Transformers. I think they just go till the wheels fall off. I think they just go until they stop making a certain amount of money that they want to hit, and then they wait. And the good thing is, I've always said this before, that the second this doesn't do well, you bring back the OG characters again, whether it is the original trilogy or the new trilogy, because they kind of have a full safe there of, oh, it's not working, well, go get them. And that's where I legitimately think if you, let's say Jurassic World Rebirth 2 comes out, and it comes out in 2027, 28, comes out, underperforms, disappoints, oh, what's happened with Jurassic series yet, well, let's get Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and I bet you it's a hit. So that's the thing where it's like they kind of have a mulligan there, and then it's like, would the one after that be a hit? I don't know, but I don't see it bombing anytime, because I've said this before too, and people compared it to, maybe not Transformers, but when they compared it to superhero stuff, like other than 65, and we supposedly there's a rumored Anne Hathaway, Ian McGregor dinosaur movie, there's not like, the dinosaur genre is not overridden with stuff, right? There's not like, oh, another dinosaur movie. To me, it's kind of like, oh, well, you're known as like, this is Jurassic World. I think something like Fast and Furious, because the amount of how much they were putting them out, that got to, oh, another Jurassic, like, or another Fast and Furious movie. Like, I think people, and then you had Hobbs and Shaw, right? Where Jurassic World Dominion, that was like 22. Yeah, so it's been 3 years. So like every 3 years. So Super Mike says my boy Jonathan Bailey better be back too. I think so. I feel like you should do the same thing. I think they just locked down ScarJo, obviously, because like she's like the main star, right? She's on the poster, that's who they sell it on. But I think for me, um, you you got to get them all back, and then you kind of create your new trilogy thing, and then again you can make a bigger bust when you want to like you have Mahershala, Bailey, and ScarJo, and then you bring back Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard at any point. You can bring back original characters, Goldman, and whatnot. Like it's all there, right? So the only thing I think that might hurt Mike is I thought I saw recently where he said he was going to take a break for a little while, but if the movie's not being made for a little bit, I think they're good. Who comes back to direct? I don't think it matters because I don't think they care. I think Gareth Edwards did what he could there. That was rush production. They just wanted to get something out, right? So we'll see, but I will for sure be there. At least I know Taylor will be, probably would be if it fits in. I just like, I don't have much excitement. I'd have to see a trailer, see what they're doing, right? And then finally, I was announced that David S. Sandberg is for Amazon and MGM remaking the Amityville Horror. I think it will probably go to theaters and then Amazon after. Yeah, I don't know here. I still want to watch Until Dawn, even though I really shouldn't. Like, I loved that game. That's one of my favorite PlayStation exclusives. As far as, I don't think it's like a maybe top even 20, but I had a great time that. I love a good choose your adventure horror type of game, right? Um, and that was tons of fun. I lost complete interest, and this really makes me worried if anyone in the chat or that's listening has played Outlast. Me and the boys, we did a review last year, but I really like Outlast, and they had recently announced that they were making a movie. I don't know when I say they, just like Hollywood, but like that was my worry of like you just take the name and some people like and use a bit of the concepts. I do want to watch Until Dawn just because I everyone just either I hear it's bad or fine or below average. So with Sandberg, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like he made, which the Lights Out horror short was really, really well done. I think that's really great. Watch that if you haven't. I know if you've seen the movie, I think the movie is good, but it was hard to take that concept. But why wouldn't you, right? You make this short, you go to film festivals, James Wan hits you up like, hey, you want to make a movie version of this? Absolutely. You know, like that's what you do, right? And I thought it was a good movie. I think it didn't keep the tension, but it was a good movie. Shazam, I liked, but didn't like as much as other people. And then Shazam 2, I thought was just like fun, like definitely lower than 1. And then there's this, right? I said this in the Discord when this news came out. To me, this is the like tipping off point. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying his career is over. No, he's had some hits. I think always what can happen if you have a couple, I'd say not bombs, but let's just say misses or just like consider non-wins. Like, I don't know, just underwhelming performances as a director. There's always TV that can be fine, or you become like Gareth Edwards, where it's a director for hire sort of deal, right? I don't have any excitement for this because I've seen so many. It's like Texas Chainsaw, where we've gone so many in the past 10 years of sequels or semi remakes or using the house or whatever, and they've just been like straight to DVD type of quality, right? And that's where it's tough because, and I need to go back and watch the original. It's not one that I absolutely love, but like I know it's a very good movie. Like there's lots of tropes and concepts that's created, but to me, the excitement there is it does need to be revitalized, so that could be good, and I think Sandberg will be motivated. But like Sandberg's not a choice I'm like, oh, I can't absolutely wait. It's like, okay, like that's good, but I think if you wanted something sexy, it needs to be someone that has a bit more claim right now, where I feel like for him it is like this is gonna be the tipping point of where his career follows after. And then also I just April, you literally just said my last point before the episode's end. I don't think anyone cares about Amityville horror movie. Cares about an Amityville Horrorville movie. I'm fucking that up big time. An Amityville horror movie. I agree. I think there's just some stuff. It's like even though like I saw it last week, like Seth Rogen announced, or they announced like they're bringing back the Muppet Show, right? I love the Muppets. I can go over it. I think this is kind of past. There's certain things where it's just that's of a bygone era, and people just you might have better chance of just making a horror movie with that same budget and just doing something original or concept, right? Like I think, and I'm trying to think of something recently, right? I think there's just something last year, but you never know. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's gonna be like Top Gun Maverick, but I was somebody that I didn't think Top Gun was gonna bomb. I just thought like, is this something people really care about in this age? And they did, right? And that has Tom Cruise, a lot of differences, but I think with horror I feel very confident on. I don't think people care to the degree they want them to. I don't think that. I think that's something they look at and they go, "Oh, that's that's not." It doesn't have the same value it does. And I've said that before with something like even like Jason and Freddy Krueger. Obviously, they're always on Hot Topic and stuff like that, but we don't know in this era. There hasn't been a Freddy movie in so long. Hasn't been Jason movie in so long. They could start being those characters that people they let them pass and they have new horror icons. They have Art the Clown. They got Pennywise, and that's what you need to do, right? Where it never got the movie treatment, but still in the 90s, it was big for people. And then what Annie Muschietti and Cary Fukunaga and everyone did with that, they revitalized it in a way. That's what you need to do with this, but I think that's where with the Sanberg choice, I go, okay, I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah, we'll see. That is the end of this edition of Trash Told You. I'll be back on Wednesday with, who knows, nothing to tease right now. If there is no news, we'll do an evergreen topic, or maybe we'll do that fan casting one. I don't know, but I hope everyone has a good rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the Discord or talk to you later. Until then, it won't be boring.